In 1860, we would have been discussing slavery, of which the state of Rhode Island has an infamous history, and whether slavery should be outlawed. In 1940, we would have been discussing the extermination of Jews and whether this country should bother to defend Jews from mass extermination by our going to war. Here we are in 2019 debating whether the extermination and genocide of 4,000 children in Rhode Island per year should be expanded, laws loosened, less qualified persons permitted to surgically and barbarically kill children up to the moment of birth. Citizens and lawmakers are being asked to loosen healthy and sensible restrictions and qualifications to the slaughter of children so that Planned Parenthood, a $1.5 billion per year business, can grow its coffers. So-called women's rights groups being used by Planned Parenthood to carry their banner claim more abortion, later abortion, less regulated killing of greater numbers of babies for any reason or no reason, abortions performed by unqualified, less medically trained individuals should be allowed. They are asking for state-sanctioned back alley abortions, basically, legal back alley abortions. They are asking for more damage to more women in less regulated abortions. They are asking for greater revenue for Planned Parenthood. They are asking for greater yield of baby parts to sell illegally, thereby swelling their coffers. This really isn't about women's rights. Half of aborted babies are female, after all. This is about selfishness and greed of Planned Parenthood, an industrial exterminating giant which barbarically renders life lifeless. The group panders to selfishness and convenience of its clients. They demand citizen taxpayers' subsidy of this butchery against our will. The question is whether the Rhode Island legislature will pander to this selfishness, greed, and barbarism. If we knew how the slavery issue would turn out and what history's verdict was, how would we have voted in 1860? If we knew how history would view Nazi atrocities, how would we have voted in 1940? Today we face a sickness and illness, a rampant greed and selfishness that is the abortion industry. We know that one way or another, the truth will become more and more apparent sooner or later, as it did with slavery and the Nazis. It is foreseeable that Roe versus Wade will be overturned, that enlightenment will dawn tentatively in this country. Do we want to come down on the side of life or death? Are we for the good or for evil? Do we want social and cultural health and wholeness? Or do we permit and encourage injury, harm, death via abortion for our own flesh and blood, our children, and for women of our time, often taken advantage of by the abortion industry, often forced to abort by coercive parents, partners, or circumstances? History will say of us that either we loved or that we hated. It will say either we were enlightened enough to care about life or that we were ignorant and selfish and greedy and permitted more widespread extermination of our own species. What side do you want history? What do you want the history books to say about you? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.